Alright, here we go. Today is an exciting day. I'm back to you. I used the restroom. I didn't change my outfit because I mentioned in the last video that I was going to come back momentarily. So I don't know if that's... Look, I heard that some YouTubers, you know, you got to keep it real by changing your outfit. I'm just messing around. Okay, look. I'm excited. That's what happens. When I get excited, I start saying random things. I start not making any sense. All right. I have not finished all the Japanese motor companies, excuse me. But I wanted to touch on the USA, America, or, you know, down south in Mexico, they call it USA, you know. So look, I appreciate learning about how people communicate. So forgive me if I don't say things correctly. But sometimes it's correct, you know, some places, and it's not correct in other places, you know, just like in the United States. You can, depending on where you are and the circumstances and who you are, some things are acceptable and some things aren't. That's why it's very confusing, I think, when you try to explain the nuance of language, but I'm not going to get into that. What I do want to get into is the amazingness of Ford Motor Company. Here we go, sir. My usual disclaimer. Oh, what? There's no museum? Look, now I failed. In my other video, I said I was going to do... Now it just seems silly to me. I will acknowledge this, though. Ford Motor Company, USA, headquartered in Dearborn, Michigan. Established June 16th of 1903. Founder, Henry Ford. No, I do appreciate Fords. I do. I mean, my wife and I, we've owned Fords in the past. We've actually, you know what's funny? We've owned Chevy, Dodge, and Ford. So to anyone out there that says that I don't appreciate American cars, you probably don't know very much about me then, if you're able to say that. And if you say that, then you can live in your ignorance. I'm fine. You know, I'm fine with that. You know, what I realized too is that I am very grateful for haters, and especially the ones that like to say that you are what they do, because I realized we all can see with our eyes the actions of one person, and if someone's actions are not consistent with what they say, they prove themselves to be who they are. And if that makes sense to you, then I appreciate you, and if it doesn't, then that's okay. You know, not everything makes sense to everyone. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Chevy, or I think how you correctly say is Chevrolet. Excuse me. My usual disclaimer. I apologize if I mention anyone's name incorrectly. It's my ignorance and lack of wanting to learn every single person's name correctly. So I apologize for being lazy. I truly do. I wish I could dedicate myself to learning every single word and saying it as correctly as I possibly can. So that might be a life goal that I set for myself. I'm going to try to do that. I really am. I'm not being facetious there. I really do try. And I know that I fail on a daily basis. But just because I fail on a daily basis doesn't mean I'm going to give up. You know, I'm going to do my absolute best to be the best human being that I possibly can. All right. Chevrolet, USA, headquartered in Detroit, Michigan. Established November 3rd, 1911. And shout out to all the 1911s out there. Not only is it an amazing year, it also is amazing firearms. Shout out to John Moses Browning. I hope to meet you in the next life. All right. I don't want to get sidetracked, but here we go. Founder, Louis Chevrolet and William C. Durant. Museum, here we go. The Chevrolet Motor Company is established 1911. I knew I loved you for a reason. No, I'm serious. I do love that year. The correlations, just, you know, I'm a huge fan of John Moses Browning and the 1911 platform. So there's a lot of areas or fields or disciplines, whatever you want to call it, that I appreciate and enjoy learning about. But one is firearms, and more specifically the 1911 platform, and how it's evolved into the 2011 platform. Wilson, look, I could make a whole video about just 1911s, but that's not the point. I saw the year, and I'm grateful for that year, for A gambit of reasons. Okay. And not to be confused with Wolverine, because I do appreciate you as well. The Chevrolet Motor Company is established on November 3rd, 1911. Swiss-born racer and engineer Louis Chevrolet and William Durant established the Chevrolet Motor Company in Detroit. 1912, the first car, the Classic 6. The Classic 6, the very first Chevrolet automatic, is introduced with a 6-cylinder engine up front and a 3-speed gearbox mounted at the rear. The 6 is packed with the latest technology of its day. 1914, the bow tie logo. Chevrolet's first famous bow tie logo appears for the first time. 1916, the introduction of the 490. The second Chevrolet, the 490, is released with a very competitive $490 price tag. The car becomes a huge hit, making a large amount of money for the company. 1918, becoming part of the General Motors Group. Chevrolet officially becomes a part of the General Motors Group. Founder William Durant once again holds the reins to the company. 1918, the first Chevrolet truck. Chevrolet's first truck, a lightweight pickup based on the 490 with a 1-ton chassis, made its debut. 1929, a 6-cylinder engine for passenger cars and trucks. Chevrolet introduces a new 6-cylinder engine for its passenger cars and trucks, which won over many fans for its power and durability. It becomes so popular that people began calling it the cast iron wonder. 1935, the introduction of the Carry-All Suburban. The Carry-All Suburban, a multi-purpose vehicle of the day, is a large 8-passenger all-steel station wagon based on the half-ton Chevrolet pickup model. Very cool. Very, very classic. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if a car manufacturer, because I've noticed just doing this the past, week and a half, I think if a car manufacturer came back out with this design or this look, I think it would be a hit. I really do. 1935, the Baltimore plant becomes operational. The factory in Baltimore, Maryland begins operation in 1935. Shout out to April 7th. Okay. Sorry. No, I was born in April. April means a lot to me. Not only because it's 4. I just like the number 4 as well. Look, I like a lot of numbers. Okay, 1935, the first one-piece steel roof in history. And I love baseball. American pastime, but I think it's a Japanese pastime as well. I might go out on a limb there and say that I think we can all appreciate different sports in different countries. Okay, the first, and shout out to Mr. Baseball. Shout out to you, Tom Selleck. I appreciate you, sir. The first one-piece steel roof in history. Chevrolet develops the very first turret-top one-piece steel roof in the automobile industry, replacing roofs that had been made with wood and canvas. It is equipped on all Chevrolet car models. 1950, application of the automatic transmission. For its 1950 model, Chevrolet added the Power Glide transmission as an option, marking the first time an automatic transmission was offered on an inexpensive car. Very cool. 1953, the first the first Corvette is born. That's one car I wasn't, look, my dad was a Porsche guy, and I just loved Corvette. So that a Corvette was definitely always, even from my childhood, was a car that I was fascinated with, and I always dreamed of owning one. So the very first C1 model Corvette, an open top 2-seater, and my dream was to buy a Corvette and to tour Route 66. That was just, when I was a kid, I had all kinds of crazy ideas. That was just what I was dreaming about when I was a child. An open top 2-seater powered by 147.9 horsepower, 3,850cc overhead valve engine makes its debut. The Vette is also the first production car to use an all fiberglass body. Well, this is what my dad would say to me. He'd be like, look, you want this fiberglass? Because, you know, you would see pictures of like, because your fiberglass when it would just kind of like shred like paper, and I was like, well, you know what? I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to everything, sir. No, he's the one that taught me that there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. There's no right. There's no. That's why I always say, like, look, you ask me a question. The answer, if we're all honest, it depends, right? It depends on the time. It depends on the resources you have. It depends on a lot of factors. I don't think there is a one size fits all for anything. 1953, the father of the Corvette. Harley Earl, as also known as the father of the Corvette, is a central figure in the Corvette's development project. 1954, Nomad concept revealed. The Nomad concept car shown in GM's Motorama show is a two-door station wagon based on the Corvette. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. 1955, first generation Nomad. The first generation Nomad, produced from 1955 to 1957, is a two-door station wagon version of the Bel Air. Dude, see, that's got this timeless look. It absolutely has a timeless look. 1956, the Betty Skelton Corvette. So, forgive me, my dear, if I'm saying your name incorrectly. From 1956 to 1957, GM designs a special Corvette for female racer Betty Skelton. Shout out to female racers. I didn't know there was female racers even back in the 50s. With it, she would record a top speed of 1956.6 miles per hour at the Daytona Speed Trials. And I find you very attractive for being a race car driver, and for, you know, I mean, look, she's got a beautiful smile, okay? I appreciate a beautiful smile. 1957, the development of the Corvette SS. The Corvette SS, developed for the Sebring 12-hour race, registers a top speed of 192.6 miles per hour. Look, and I'm going to go back here for a second. This is the one thing that I want to comment on. I actually find it more attractive sometimes when a female is... Look, as a male, I'm talking about what I find attractive. The fact that she's fully covered, her whole body is covered, I don't find that any less appealing. I actually find that more attractive. Look, I'm going to say what I like. You know, we all, you know, every person, I can only speak about what I appreciate. I can't speak about what other people appreciate. 1958, the first generation Impala. The first generation Impala was introduced with a Bel Air option, available only as a two-door hardtop or convertible. 1958, the father of the Stingray. Bill Mitchell, known as the father of the Stingray, becomes head of the GM design department. 1959, the unique El Camino. The El Camino, a unique model combining the ride quality of a large passenger car with a pickup truck, makes its debut. That is so futuristic. Even like me looking at this now, this is what I love. Looking back at just cars that existed, and I'm like, that is even forward thinking, in my opinion, by today's standards. 1959, my gosh. The Stingray race car is produced by Bill Mitchell. See, this is again, look, there are designs that just withstand the test of time because they're absolutely gorgeous. The Stingray race car is produced by Bill Mitchell. Produced by Bill Mitchell, the Stingray race car is the design inspiration for the second generation Corvette, which would appear in 1963. 1960, the Corvair. GM introduces its first modern car powered by an air-cooled engine, the Corvair. This car marks the beginnings of compact car development at General Motors. 1960, exceeding 10,000 cars per year. The yearly production of the Corvettes gradually increases since its introduction. In this year, it exceeds 10,000 units for the first time. That is a classy. Shout out to all the NASA astronauts that were allowed to lease Corvettes for $1 a year. Shout out to Corvette for doing that. I'm not sure if that was in the 60s. I believe it was. So shout out to Chevrolet for appreciating astronauts. Thank you for that. 1961, the legendary Mako Shark. The Mako Shark is a preview of the second generation Corvette design. Only a single show car was produced, a convertible with a removable double bubble hardtop. 1961, the new Corvette. A rear view of the Corvette is the rear view of the Corvette is redesigned, sporting a ducktail that would carry over to the second generation models. 1963, the Corvette Stingray, introduced as the second generation Corvette. The Stingray sports a completely new body. This car would go on to popularize the Chevrolet Corvette all over the world. Absolutely. That is an iconic body style, very iconic. 1963, the successful Z06. The Z06 Corvette with race spec options is successful in many races by private teams. Shout out to all the private teams out there. Shout out to all the private astronauts out there. I'm very grateful now that technology has brought us to a time when there can be a privatization of space travel. Excuse me. 1964, the first generation Malibu. The first generation Malibu, an upscale series of the Chevelle intermediate model, makes its debut and is sold as a sports coupe, sedan, and convertible. 1965, the popular Impala. I do love, I had friends, and I primarily hung out with, import, when I was a kid, when I was in high school, I was a kid. So I'm gonna just say, as a child, I hung out with, primarily the Asian racing crowd. But I did appreciate there were people that had Impalas, and I loved just that's the one thing I noticed about the gentlemen that that would fix up their American cars. They put their heart and soul into making these cars just absolutely amazing. So I appreciate that. 1965, Burlingame High School, class of 99. Shout out to the American Muscle race car guys. I forget all their clubs or their crews, but shout out to you guys. 1965, Impala SS Coupe sells more than 1 million units. 1967, the first generation Camaro. The Camaro was created to compete against the Ford Mustang. Soon after its appearance, it serves as the official pace car for the Indy 500. That's the one thing I don't hang out in high schools. I just find it inappropriate for me to be around people that are literally less than half my age, unless it's a professional situation. But that's the one thing I did appreciate in high school is you had people. I remember you just you'd have these cars line up. And it was almost like every day going to school was kind of like watching, going to like an auto show, kind of. So that's one thing I'm very grateful for. 1967, the first generation Camaro. The Camaro was created to compete against the Ford Mustang. Soon after its appearance, it serves as the official pace car for the Indy 500. 1968, those lines are absolutely third generation Corvette. The Corvette evolved into its third generation form. Its curvy body is widely described as having Coke bottle lines. Absolutely gorgeous. 1969, Indy 500 pace car. The Camaro becomes the Indy 500 pace car. Once again, driven by 1960s race winner Jim Rathman. Shout out to you, sir. Shout out to you. 1969, the Manta Ray prototype. The prototype Manta Ray is powered by the legendary ZL1 Monster engine. Shout out to all the monsters out there, bro. 1970, the second generation Camaro. The second generation Camaro has its official release delayed to avoid compromising on performance, particularly when it comes to the chassis. 1970, the Corvette LT1. The legendary Corvette LT1, a 5.7 liter 364.8 horsepower, makes its first appearance. It is introduced in the ZR1 race package. 1972, the last iron bumper. This was the last year of the iron bumper Corvettes, known for their chromed front and rear bumpers. 1973, the evolution of the Corvette. The prototype next generation Corvette, the Aerovette, was a rotary engine mounted amidships. Its engine would later be replaced by a V8. Shout out to the rotary. I didn't know that. I thought Mazda was the only company that did rotary engines, and I think rotary engines are such a unique, very, very unique. You know, I was only able to test drive one, but I think it would be awesome to try out a Corvette with a rotary engine. That's very cool, and hopefully, you know, look, I like to set my intentions. Corvette, maybe because we're entering into you know, a time where we have to be eco. Maybe, you know what? Why not bring back that rotary engine? You know, that's all I'm saying. 1974. Urethane bumper Corvettes. The front and rear bumpers on the Corvette were changed to urethane. This was also the last year of the big block engine. 1974. New bumpers on the Camaro. Shock absorbent bumpers are equipped on the Camaro starting this year. The Z28 is identified by decals indicating its grade model. 1975. The last generation Corvette. Excuse me, the last third generation Corvette. The third generation Corvette convertible is discontinued in response to tighter safety regulations. 1976, the high fuel economy Corvette. The Corvette was one of the first high fuel economy cars in America. Opel versions of the car were built in GM factories in Argentina, Brazil, and England. Okay, look, this, I mean, okay, this doesn't look like a Corvette, but I mean, I'll just leave it at that. 1976, the last... Am I reading that correctly? I don't want to say it. Yeah, okay, look. 1976, the last Corvette Stingray. 1976 Corvette is the last model to wear the Stingray badge. That is until it would return as the 6th generation model. Many years later, the leather interior is standard and cruise control is available as a feature. 1977, the comeback of the Z28. The top-of-the-line high-performance Camaro Z28 is revived. It comes with a NACA duck-shaped decals and wheels that are the same color as the body. 1978 becomes the Indy 500 pace car. Becoming the Indy 500 pace car, the third-generation Corvette celebrates the 25th anniversary of the model by becoming the Indy 500 pace car. This is the first time that a Corvette is chosen to be the pace car for the historic race. 1979, the luxury Berlinetta. The Berlinetta added to the Camaro lineup. The Camaro lineup was a luxury model that replaced the LT. What's so funny about this, I remember as a child, and just touching back on the current climate of the situation in Europe, I think a lot of people forget. You know, I remember watching on TV, you know, just having the Berlin Wall and just being divided, knowing that, you know, you're in the same city. And I just remember, like here in the town that I live in, people have these private glider kind of planes. And I remember watching on TV a gentleman, he just wanted to visit his family so badly. He flew his glider over the wall. I don't remember what happened to him, or maybe I just don't want to say what happened to him. But I'm very grateful that we've moved past those times in history. And I really hope that we do not enter into a stage of history where we repeat our previous mistakes. And I know I went off on a tangent, but I always like to vocalize things because I think it's important to remind people that there were times, even within my own lifetime, I'm only 40, soon to be 41 years young, and I have not forgotten about how crazy a situation we can enter into by just not vocalizing that it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to have situations like that where literally people will lose their lives by just traveling over to visit their family members. Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me vocalize that. The luxury Berlinetta. Berlinetta added to, and I hope anyone who's older than me actually remembers that as well. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by not remembering the past. The Berlinetta added to the Camaro lineup was a luxury model that replaced the LT. 1979, Corvette production exceeds 50,000 cars per year. The third generation Corvette registers its best sales year in 1979 with more than 50,000 cars sold. The standard engine improves in a power by 9.8 horsepower for a total of 192.3 horsepower. The final version of the third generation Corvette, the final rendition of the third generation Corvette possesses integrated front and rear spoilers. 1981, the last second generation Camaro. For the last of the second generation Camaros, the top of the line Z28 comes powered with a 5.7 liter V8 that produces 172.5 horsepower. Look, I'm not trying to be rude. I appreciate American muscle, but I mean, we have a 5.7 liter V8 and we're making 172.5 horsepower. I understand. I mean, I'm not comparing, but I feel like if technology, I feel like with modern day technology, I mean, look, not modern day technology, because I know, okay, I'll just leave it where it is. Thank you. 1982, the third generation Camaro. In its third generation form, the Camaro featured a sleeker body as the 1982 Camaro Z28 was. As the, look, I'm learning how to read. I apologize. Every day I try harder and I practice. So one day I think my reading will maybe get to the level of you, the viewer, okay? As the 1982 Camaro Z28 was selected as the pace car for the Indy 500 for the third time. 1982 Collector's Edition Corvette. This Collector's Edition model is added to the last year of the third generation Corvette. 1984, the fourth generation Corvette. This is what I'm used to seeing. As a child, I saw a lot of these, this body. The release of the fourth generation Corvette marks 15 years since the release of the very first model. It undergoes a major model change and increases its appeal among sports car fans. Very familiar. This is very familiar to me. 1985, electronic fuel injection. The Corvette's L98 5.7 liter V8 features electronic fuel injection for the first time. Okay, so look, I apologize. Like, I didn't realize that it wasn't until 1985 that fuel injection came into these engines. So I think that's probably part of the reason why, you know, we saw such low horsepower. And here's the thing, you know, I think there's advantages and disadvantages. I think, you know, hypothetically, if you did have EMP surge or whatever, you know, like having electronic fuel injection would not be advantageous. So I could see how, you know, just having a more proven design would be beneficial under certain circumstances. I stand corrected. 1986, revival of the Corvette convertible. The Corvette convertible, which had disappeared from the lineup since 1975, makes a comeback after an 11-year hiatus. 1988, a popular pickup truck. This is very close to what I had. I don't remember the year on my Chevy truck. The Chevy CK pickup truck made its debut, introducing a new line of pickup trucks from the brand. 1989, and this is one thing I do appreciate about trucks like this is parts. Like if you just go to like Summit Racing, there's like so many very cheap and available parts for a lot of these older pickups. So that's one thing I do great, even by today's standards, I do greatly appreciate how easy it is to work on a lot of these older trucks. 1989, the Camaro RS. The name of the base model Camaro is changed from Sports Coupe to RS, Rally Sport. 1989, the return of the detachable top. Detachable tops made a comeback in the Corvette 14 years after they disappeared in 1975. 1990, the CERV3. In 1990, mid-engine Corvette called Serv 3 appears as a concept model. 1990, 3 new records. The Corvette ZR1 sets 3 speed endurance race records, including an average speed of 170 miles per hour over 24 hours. Very impressive. 1991, minor changes to the Corvette. In 1991, the Corvette undergoes a redesign with driving lights that wrap around its sides and a rear end that resembles the ZR1 model. 1992, 1 million Corvettes produced. Dang, you know, for such a sport kind of like, you know, I consider a Corvette a niche car, depending on where you are. Forgive me if I said it wrong, but the fact that it sold 1 million models, like, that's impressive to me. Because I mean, if you think about it, like the equivalent to a Corvette for Nissan would be the GTR, And I wonder if, you know, or maybe there's been a million GTRs sold, but like that to me is very impressive. The 1 millionth Corvette rolls off the Bowling Green plant in Kentucky. 1993, the 4th generation Camaro. The Camaro was significantly altered for the 4th generation model and is selected as the Indy 500 pace car for the 4th time. 1993, the 40th anniversary of the Corvette. Shout out to 40 years. I can feel you. I celebrated my 40th last year, so thank you. And thank you. Look at those lines. I love how the back is just streamlined like that. The year 1993 marks the 40th anniversary of the Corvette. The LT5 powered ZR1, 40 years young. That's what I say. Model has an increased output of 405 horsepower. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. 1995, the final Corvette ZR1. The year 1995 marks the last year of the Corvette ZR1, which comes powered with a dual overhead cam V8 engine, 404.3 horsepower. Woo! 1996, the Camaro SS returns. In 1996, the Camaro SS makes its return. 24 years since the last SS. In addition to a V8 powered up to 305 horsepower, it also features a reinforced suspension system. Shout out to my mom for letting me test drive one of these. Shout out to, I forget which Chevrolet dealership. I want to say it was in Serramonte. But shout out to them for letting, I was thinking it was like 98 or 99, but such an amazing car. And it was in like the same color as my BMW. So like what would I call it? Like a dark brown. But I think the dark brown with the black roof, it looks premium right there. Okay, so 1996, 2 special Corvettes. In 1996, the Corvette lineup included the Gran Sport with the LT4 and the Collector's Edition, which is offered for the final year of every generation. 1997, the 5th generation Corvette. The Corvette had undergone major changes and now featured a brand new, more powerful, all aluminum 5.7 liter engine with 345 horsepower. That is a dream car right there. That is a dream car. I think this is, I forget which, I remember when I was a kid, I used to buy Motor Trend, I forget which, a Car and Driver magazine, but I remember they did like maybe a tribute to the Corvette. And I remember they did like a thing where they drove on route, and that's why I'm not, most of my ideas are not original. I remember reading about that. I think they toured Route 66, but that was my dream. I was like, yo, this Corvette is absolutely gorgeous. And I just had that dream. I was like, you know what? I just want to tour the country in this amazing automobile. All right, the 1998, a convertible model joins the lineup. In 1998, a convertible model is added to the C5 Corvette lineup. An Indy 500 pace car replica package is also available as an option. 1999, the Nomad concept. The Nomad, based on the 4th generation Camaro, is a concept vehicle that serves as a modern interpretation of the two-door station wagon. Dude, they should have released that. I think that would sell. I really do. 1999, the new addition to the Corvette. In 1999, a fixed hardtop model was added to the Corvette lineup. I think that's what I would do, a fixed hard. Well, I don't know. I do appreciate convertibles. Okay, 2001, a 1-2 finish at Le Mans. In 2001, the Corvette C5-R enters the 24 hours of Le Mans and achieves a 1-2 finish in the GTS class. One of the drivers is Andy Pilgrim. Shout out to you, sir. 2001, the revival of the Z06. The Z06 model returns to the Corvette lineup in 2001, equipped with a 379.6 horsepower LS6 special wheels and more. 2002, the final Camaro, the 4th generation Camaro, makes the end of the Camaro production with no immediate replacement. Is the first time that production for the model is interrupted since its start in 1967. 2003, a class victory at the Sebring 12-hour race. In 2003, at the Sebring 12-hour race, which is part of the American Le Mans Series, the C5-R celebrates its third consecutive victory in the GTS class. 2003, the 50th anniversary of the Corvette. Chevrolet produces a special model in celebration of the Corvette's 50th anniversary in 2003. The 50th anniversary edition is selected as the pace car for the Indy 500. 2005, the 6th generation Corvette. The convertible version of the 6th generation Corvette is selected as the pace car for the Indy 500. 2005, the successful C6R. The C6R, which appears in 2005, would win the GT1 class of the 24-hour of Le Mans and would also be the ALMS champion. 2006, the long-awaited Camaro concept. At the 2006 North American International Auto Show, Chevrolet unveils a Camaro concept and announces they would begin selling it in 2009. 2007, the official pace car 4 years running. In 2007, the Corvette is selected as the Indy 500 pace car for the 4th year in a row. 2007, the commemorative edition, the Corvette Z06 Ron Fellows ALMS GT1 Championship Edition, limited to 399 units, is released, commemorating the Corvette's championship victory in the 2007 ALMS. 2007, the cutting edge in technology, the Volt. The Volt concept car introduced at the North American International Auto Show features a rechargeable electric power system that is one step ahead of other EVs. 2010, the introduction of the 5th generation Camaro. Shout out to one of my my old friends. Ant. He owns one of these. I don't know if he still has one, but I do appreciate these these later generation Camaros. The 5th generation model of the Camaro is introduced. 7 years since its last full model change, it was reborn with the latest technological innovations. 2011, 100 years of Chevrolet. Chevrolet celebrates its 100th year anniversary after having produced nearly, 214 million cars, which have been sold in more than 140 countries around the world. How are we going to get? We need to get to the other 140 countries around the world. Shout out to you, Chevrolet. 2011, 100 years. I hope one day I do celebrate my 100-year anniversary as well. 100 years young. 100 years young. 2011 WTCC champion. In September, the Chevrolet team won the WTCC Manufacturers Championship for the 2nd year in a row. 2011, the birth of the range extended electric car. The E-REV extended range electric vehicle Volt is an electric car with a totally new concept. 2011, victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The new C6R ZR1 of Chevrolet Racing wins the GTE Pro class of the 24 Hours of Le Mans for the 7th time. 2013, the 60th anniversary of the Corvette. The Corvette would, you know what? I'm just doing basic math, but so 70 years. I'm going to make my goal. Maybe by 2023, shout out to Corvette. I hope maybe one day, to own. And I would be okay. Here's the thing. I don't need a new Corvette. I would love to just find something that maybe just someone didn't really use a lot. It's maybe the generation that I wanted. So 2000, whatever it was, 2000. So the previous generation. So I'm just vocalizing what I would want. The Corvette which has become an American icon since its birth on June 30th of 1953, celebrates its 60th anniversary. We're coming up one more year. Time flies when you're having fun. We're only a year away. 2014, Team Chevrolet achieves its 38th title in November. Team Chevrolet wins the NASCAR Manufacturers Championship for the 2014 season, marking its 38th title victory. 2014, the 7th generation Corvette. The 7th generation Corvette features a completely new frame structure, chassis, and powertrain to go with a brand new exterior and interior design. That is a hot looking car. That's absolutely sexy. 2015, the Corvette Z06. The Corvette Z06, based on the 7th generation model, came powered with a newly developed supercharged 6.2 liter V8. Dang, son. 2015 victory at the Indy 500. Juan Pablo Montoya wins the 99th running of the Indy 500 in a Chevy-powered machine. Dang, is that milk? Is he drinking milk? Shout out to you, sir. Shout out to you. 2015 victory in the Le Mans GTE Pro category. The Chevrolet Corvette C7R number 64 won the GTE Pro class of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, marking the 8th victory for the Corvette. 2017, the Corvette Grand Sport. The Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport, introduced in November of 2016, is a sports model that carries on the concept of the prototype developed for winning at Le Mans. 2017, the most powerful Corvette ever, the Corvette ZR1, unveiled in November, came powered with the LT5 engine that produced 755.4 horsepower and 714.6 foot-pounds of torque, which make it the most powerful Corvette in history. Oh my gosh! That is just defying my ability to speak right now. 2019, the 8th generation Corvette. After 6 years, an all-new model was introduced. The 8th generation Corvette. After 6 years, an all-new model was introduced. The 8th generation Corvette also included Stingray in its name, which had not been used since 1976. Please, Chevrolet, please come back with your $1 lease for astronauts. I'm sure there's a lot of NASA astronauts out there. But one day I dream of being a NASA astronaut. And look, I would love to lease. Sheva, look, here's one area where I do feel like if history repeated itself, I would be very grateful. 2020, the first production Corvette is auctioned off. In January, the first production model of the new Corvette Stingray sold for $3 million at a charity auction in Arizona. Very cool. 2020, winning the 2020 North American Car of the Year. In January, the Corvette Stingray was named the 2020 North American Car of the Year. Past Corvettes to win this prestigious award was the 5th generation model in 1998. That's what I would try to get, a 1998 model. And the 7th generation version in 2014. Or you know what? Maybe I'll look on Carvana. Maybe they got some 2014 models on there. Not too. Look, I'm working on. I'm a pensioner. I'm a pensioner, sir. I only make $10,000 a year. I'm rubbing every penny together though, so I'm trying to make it work. No, I'm just being facetious, but that's what I make a year. But I'm grateful for that, because what I realized is, for every person that has more than you, there's someone who has less. So I'm very grateful for what I do have. 2021, the IMSA GTLM Championship Edition. The 2022 Corvette hits the market, and that color is hot. I love that color. That looks like San Paulo. Shout out to BMW. They call it San Paulo green. I don't know what you call it, Chevrolet, but that's a very attractive color. 2022 Corvette hits the market in July with a lineup including the special IMSA GTLM Championship Edition that was limited to 1,000 units. 2021, the Bolt EUV. The Bolt EUV, unveiled online in February, represents an SUV version of the compact 5-door Bolt EV hatchback. The EUV in its name stood for Electronic Utility Vehicle. I think that's going to be a huge, I think for the upcoming next, whatever future, I think that's going to be a huge hit. I really do. These compact SUVs, I mean, I appreciate our BMW X3. I absolutely love it. I think these kind of mid-size SUVs with a good amount of power, it's really, I think, I'm a little guy. I can only speak for myself. I'm 5'5", on a good day. So, I don't mind. I don't need a really big car. Oh, is that it? Okay. So no, yeah, I'm very grateful, Chevrolet. Thank you. Thank you for being an amazing manufacturer of motor vehicles. I like to set my intentions. So I hope Chevrolet one day, if you do watch or listen, please, the only thing I ask is you will consider leasing, Corvettes to astronauts for $1. No, I'm very grateful that you guys did that. Anyone who doesn't believe me, please do your own research. Look that up. You don't have to believe me for anything. I really hope that anyone out there does their own research and comes to their own conclusion, because I might be wrong. You know, my dates, my facts, everything. You know, it's hard for me. I know a lot of people out there, they can memorize every single thing that they've ever come across in their life, but I don't have the ability to do that. So please, if I misspoke, or if I said the dates wrong, maybe it wasn't $1, maybe it was $10. I'm not sure. But please do your own research and come to your own conclusions, because that's what I do. So I hope that I can at the very least set that example. Thank you. I love you. Have a blessed day.